Mhm.
I think we live. Y'all, what's good? What's good? What's good? What's good? Happy Monday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Happy Monday, happy Monday. Y'all go ahead and tap in, tap in, tap in. We live, baby. We live on YouTube. We live on Zoom. One day I'm gonna figure out how to go live on Instagram too. At the same time I can on YouTube and on Zoom. I'm just not that tech savvy yet. We definitely gonna get there. Y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. Very, very excited for this evening's conversation. Again, it's your boy Murdoch. I'm the founder of the Side Hustle Economy Company. The Side Hustle Economy Company is a nonprofit organization that's empowering Black side hustlers to achieve their entrepreneurial dreams through the three E's: exposure, education, and equipment. Exposure, education, and equipment. And we got 5 different programs that are rooted in meeting the Black side hustler exactly where they are and getting them to a place and space of bringing their visions to fruition. And then we also focus a lot on equipment through partnership. And to what extent can we take folks who've been exposed and been educated to actually really bringing their dreams to life with the equipment that they need to make it make sense and that sensational impact all across the census. But before we talk about education and before we talk about equipment, we got to start with the exposure. We got to start with the exposure. And I won't get too deep into the methodology because y'all didn't jump on here to hear me talk. All right, you jumped on here to hear an incredible sister this evening. You jumped on here to hear a little bit more about mental health and self-care. All right, you jumped on here this evening to understand how she get her hair laid so flat, even though she got so much going on in her life in the background. Tonight, y'all came for a conversation with my good friend, my sister in Christ, my sister in the struggle, my sister in the movement. I'm Hazel Owens, and I'm gonna let her introduce herself here in just a second because I'm thankful for the time that she took. But again, want to make sure y'all know this is the Side Hustle Economy Company. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Side Hustle Economy. Again, on Instagram at Side Hustle Economy. We live on YouTube. We live on Zoom. Eventually, gonna be live on Instagram too. But make sure you tell 3, bring 2, be the 1. All right. Tell 3 people about the Side Hustle Economy Company. Bring 2 people to this live right now. Make it make sense Monday. And then be the one to engage in the chat. Whether you're on Zoom, you're on YouTube, or you see this after it's finished, engage with us. Tap in with us. And once it is over, I'm going to have a special announcement for those who chose to tap in. But we'll get to that a little bit later. So without further ado, it's another installment of Make It Make Sense Monday, and I'm going to bring my good friend to the stage, Sister Hazel. Sister Hazel, how you doing?
I am well. Thank you so much, my friend, my brother, for the gracious invitation to hang with you tonight. I'm so excited about our dialogue. And I'm so excited for just all that's been happening in your life and the ways that I've been able to witness, sometimes from afar, most times from afar, but even in moments where we're able to catch up and get a nice glimpse of what's been going on. So I appreciate you. You're doing amazing things. I love what you're putting out there in the world for folks. And yeah, man, just keep doing it. And so thank you again for having me tonight.
No, that's love. That's love. You know, the reciprocation, it goes both ways, sister. And so let's dive deep into it. So you've already kind of briefly introduced yourself, but I'm gonna ask you to do it again formally. Introduce yourself. And then as you do that, can you tell us how, when, and why you started your business?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna try to make this story as brief as
me, because I gave you a couple of them.
So I am Hazel Owens. I am a pre-licensed marriage and family therapist. So I'm a therapy resident at the Counseling Center at Christian Theological Seminary. Basically, all that means is that I am in the process as we speak, preparing next month to sit for my state board exam and very close to getting all of my hours for licensure. So as long as I pass this test, which I will, the hours are next and I will be fully fully licensed, which means I will be able to fully practice on my own without the bounds of supervision. But right now, I do see clients full time. This is my full time, independently contracted job. And it's been a blessing to be full for over a year with clients. I also serve part-time as an associate pastor at a church where I oversee spiritual care and development for women. And I do preaching and teaching, as well as helping the church in their value of justice that they're growing into as it pertains to being part of God's vision for reconciliation, particularly around the area of race. And so a lot of diversity, inclusion type stuff comes with that as well. So how, when, why? Y'all, this work chose me. This was not something that I wanted to do. It's not something that I sought out doing. I just knew I would be a corporate trainer. I worked in corporate America for a number of years, being groomed in my younger. Well, I'm not a young adult anymore. Being groomed in, that's so sad. Being groomed all through my 20s in the area of corporate training. And yeah, I got burnt out in the corporate world. Being young, being a woman, being African-American, oftentimes being the only one who looked like me in the meetings that I ran, that came with a lot. And so along with that and some other personal things that was happening, I found myself in counseling and did not ever consider going to therapy. That was the furthest thing from my mind. I went to the doctor for some physical issues that was happening, and the doctor was like, so it sounds like you have a little depression and I need you to go see a counselor. And I rebuked that all in the name of Jesus, because that's where I was at that time, where as a Christian, I didn't think I needed that. And so, long story short, my young adult Sunday school counselor Sunday school teacher, come to find out he was a counselor, but I didn't know it at the time. I just thought I was going to connect with him for just some spiritual guidance. And when I called the number, it was actually the number to his office. And so ended up booking an appointment with him, and that started my therapeutic journey. And so after about, let's say, 8 or 9 months of weekly, sometimes twice a week therapy, I remember walking out, being released from therapy, graduated from therapy, if you will, feeling like, man, one, everyone should feel like this. And then two, why is this so hard for African Americans to access or to even have some sort of awareness? So while that thought came to mind, just as quick as it came is as quick as it left, because I did not see myself doing anything with that. Ended up leaving corporate America, started working for a non-for-profit. I've always had a passion for empowering women and empowering young girls. And I left corporate America for this non-for-profit that did just that. It kept me one foot in the door with corporations, so I could build corporate relationships for volunteerism and social responsibility, as well as serve young girls in our community, and especially young girls who look like me. So win-win, right? Well, I started feeling like this ain't it. And I love the work. I loved my job. I loved what I was doing for that organization. I loved being able to fully grow and be who I am. I normally don't have flat, straight hair, it's usually curly now, but in corporate America, there's no way I would have worn my hair like that. So being in this company, I was able to just be me. Plus the journey therapeutically and spiritually allowed that as well, right? But I couldn't understand why I didn't feel like this was it. Never pushed it. Well, then I started doing speaking engagements for women's events and singles conferences and things like that. And that passion really started to grow, and I started paying attention. And I'm now starting to think this might be something. I had a blog at the time that I was writing and just pouring out messages that was given to me that I felt from God to give to his daughters. And so anyway, long story short, I'm going through all that. And as I start paying attention to my passion, I know that passion leads you to purpose. And here we are. So I went back to grad school for the second time around in 2016 as I got clear on my vision for my life and what my purpose was, and took a leap of faith, left my job, and decided to pursue this full time. And that was 5 years ago. So, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now.
And I don't flip. See, I told you I tried to do this tech stuff, and I thought I had something. I ain't got it.
That's all right.
Can you still hear me now?
Yep, I got you. I can hear you.
Yeah. See, so one, thank you for that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you said a lot there, but one thing I wanted to highlight for sure was something that you said about how you kind of came into the space, and it was kind of on accident. Like you gave a call to a number, you didn't know what it would be on the other side of that number. It ended up being a call to your profession in large part. That's skipping a lot, like moving a lot of
Yeah.
context. But can we talk a little bit before the next question about how sometimes we stumble into our purpose without even knowing it? And that's why we have to be constantly available to purpose work. Because if you are expecting your purpose to be sitting in a seat that you believe you were prepared to sit in, you may not have ever walked into this place in space and even been on this Zoom call today. You take
Absolutely.
advantage of an opportunity. Like how do you get there? How do you do that?
It's so interesting. Like, I mean, because of what was happening to me physically, I knew that there was also some things emotionally wrong. I just wanted help, to be honest. I needed to get back to me. But what I realized was that I didn't even know who I was. I spent so many years being a people pleaser. And I would be one way for this group of people, and then another way for this group of people, and another way for this group of people. And so my first starting point was, okay, I'm a Christian. So this is, and I'm just speaking. I know that there are probably people from different faith backgrounds that may be listening in. This is for me. So as a Christian, in my own Christian experience, I felt like my starting point was Jesus. Okay, so let me go to the one where I know my help comes from. And so I started seeking out this spiritual journey, which led me to the therapeutic piece. So I want healing, and God's like, go talk to this therapist. And so I said, okay. I rejected every notion of therapy at the time. And so, not knowing that this was going to lead me to identifying and paying attention to my purpose, I just wanted help at the time. I just wanted to feel better. In doing that, then my eyes are now open. Oh, wait a minute. I am really passionate about this type of work. And I was thinking small about the passion, but I started with the passion, right? So I just wanted to empower women and young girls. Well, women are oftentimes wives and girlfriends and mothers. And so then it grew into, wait a minute, what about the family unit? And then as I continue to walk in passion, hold up. There's some things that my people have been struggling with systemically that also impact them mentally and emotionally. How do I help with that too? I had no idea that culture and advocacy for dismantling and eradicating racism would be part of this work in my mental health professional journey, right? No idea. And so it wasn't until I started going towards the education piece where the passion started to expand. And so, yeah, it's not something that in the moment, I don't think I was just like, oh yeah, this is it. I just started paying attention to passion.
Yeah, yeah,
And follow
yeah.
where that passion went. That will always lead you to purpose.
And then I think to everybody watching or listening right now, either live or as we follow up, the thing that I took away from everything that you said, one of the things is what you just said, like pay attention to passion. And then not just pay attention to passion, but pay for passion. Like, how do you invest in finding your passion?
Yes.
How do you invest in developing your purpose? Because it's not on accident. You know what I mean? Like, independent of what you call that thing, there's a thing or a series of things. And don't ignore that thing. And I don't know about you, my sister, but I know for me, a lot of times in my story, as we kind of transition the conversation into the relationship between your story and entrepreneurship, I put my business to the side. I put my purpose work to the side. I put my calling, potentially my vocation to the side because I questioned it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I think I was taught to question my gut before I was taught to trust my gut. And if there's anybody that's watching who is in the entrepreneurial space, the ability for you to trust your intuition sits in immediate proximity to be able to see success in that place and space. And if y'all have not seen that from Hazel's journey up to this point, you're not listening. You know, you're not listening. You got to put yourself in a position to, like she said, pay attention to passion, right? Because it's an immediate result of you investing in that passion. You begin to see the seeds of your purpose come to life, and not just in you, but in the life of other people. And sister, that leads me to my next question. You know, and I think you spoke about this earlier, but is this your side hustle or your main hustle right now?
This is my main hustle. This
Mm-hmm,
is
mm-hmm.
now this is my bread and butter. This
Yeah.
is what I do. This is a developing profession for me, a developing company for me. There's layers to this, right? So when you're in the mental health field and you're starting out, there's a lot of rules, regulations, state requirements, things like that you got to work through. But that's all what I see is foundation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I am at the foundational aspect of building my house or building my business. But this is it. Now it started because I was paying attention to passion. It
Come
started
on.
as a side hustle,
Talk
right?
to us. Talk to us about the journey,
So
sister. Tell us about the journey.
it started as a side hustle. So I would host women gatherings. I would go and sign up or get called on or volunteer at especially in my church or in other spaces to with women events because these were things I was passionate about, right? So I would get called to come be a guest speaker or to be a keynote speaker for this group of women or for these group of young adults or for this group of singles at different churches or faith-based type organizations. So it started as a side hustle, but what happened to me was I was thinking about my side hustle and dreaming and planning my side hustle more than I was doing my full-time job. And so I was at a crossroads. I do believe that we should do our work as though we are working for the Lord. And so it's like, okay, hold on a minute. This is my full-time job. I need to honor and be a good steward over this job. So I couldn't, in my own consciousness and in my with my own integrity, be working on my side hustle doing my full-time job. But then it got to a point where my full-time job started becoming a drag. And the side hustle became more life-giving. But I was afraid. I didn't think I could do it. Who's gonna listen to me? Who's going to take me serious? I already have a master's degree. What the heck do I look like going back to getting a second and third master's degree? And I got all this student loan debt, right? How am I going to fund it? How am I going to support myself in doing this? And so it was a message by Priscilla Schreier. She used this illustration and she talked about how she makes big decisions. And this, I kid you not, this is what did it for me. She said, when she's faced with a big decision, And she's looking at that thing and she don't want to do it. She feels the insecurities. She has doubts about it and all these things. And when she starts asking the why and getting underneath all of that, if fear is at the root of it, then she knows that that is where she needs to go. Because if fear is the only thing at the base that's holding all these worries and doubts and insecurities, if it's just fear that's there, she said that is where she knows she needs to go, because that is where God is probably going to really show God's self. That is where God is ushering her into something that she can't even fathom or imagine. Now I'm paraphrasing her. And so it was at that moment where I said, okay, I'm turning in my seminary application.
No, you're making it make sense.
And I did. And it was hard. Don't get me wrong. I left my job. I don't tell anyone to leave their 9 to 5 for their side hustle. I would not ever tell anybody to do that, because let your 9 to 5 be the funding for your side hustle. So I would not tell anyone to do that. For me, though, in that season, I truly felt led to quit my job. So I left my job. And you talk about immediately things came up that I lost my father within the first 2 months of leaving my job. My account got wiped out within the first 3 months of leaving my job because of everything that was going on health-wise with my father. By the time as I entered the 3rd month, I literally had less than $1 in my bank account. And yet there was provisions.
Yet, key word, and yet.
And so I say all this to say, whatever your side hustle is, you have to work it consistently. You can't expect to get full-time revenue or full-time blessings off of part-time work. You have to work it consistently. So if you have to work your 9 to 5, okay, work your 9 to 5, but then put in a nice number of hours after your 9 to 5 to work your business, and do it scared. Because if fear is at the root of that thing as to why you're not taking the next steps that you know you need to take, then you got to do it scared. And so I made a conscious choice. I wanted to quit so many times over the last 4 or 5 years. I wasn't making no money. I wanted to, this was not it. I heard the Lord wrong. But quitting caused more anxiety for me than actually, it felt peaceful to stay in it. But I had to be consistent.
Y'all, so many gems, right? So many gems she dropped. She's making it make sense all across the board. If I could go back and point out a couple of things that you said, one was do it scared. You know what I mean? Like, do it scared. And if fear is the thing that's holding you back, then you know that's the place you need to go. You know, we talk a lot about now, and, you know, especially within these racial contexts, you know, become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's true. It's definitely an overused phrase now. I think it's a little bit whitewashed because it helps the white people rationalize the problems they've created. But in all seriousness, like, just when you think about the phrase as it is, becoming comfortable, being uncomfortable, again, and this isn't always the case. Sometimes there's places where you're supposed to be uncomfortable because it's a sign of your body, your mind, or your spirit saying this isn't a place for you.
Right.
But sometimes uncomfortability is causing you to grow. And then growing is not easy. Growing can be uncomfortable, right? When we need to get a new pair of shoes because our feet have gotten too big, or we've been in the gym getting it in, and now that our clothes don't fit the same as they used to, or some of our relationships don't fit the same way as they used to because we've outgrown some people, places, and things, that can get uncomfortable. And that applies to your entrepreneurial journey as well. So that's one huge thing I got from what you said. But something else that I heard you say that was phenomenal was you can't expect full-time results with a part-time mentality, right? And a lot of people out here part-time hustling and want full-time revenue. That don't make sense. And so I really appreciate the fact you said that right there. And again, that's not that's not easy, right? And
No,
we
it's
don't
not.
just say that, but we say it within the context of when there comes a point to where you're putting in your 20 hours a week. And I say 20 hours a week because you work from 9 to 5 to live from 5 to 9. That's 4 hours a day, 5 days in a week. That's 20 hours a week. So when you put in your 20 hours, you're like, I'm putting in my 20, but I know I want to give another 20 because I want the results of that other 20. That requires you to make an uncomfortable decision. Where am I going to get are we going to start seeping into Saturdays or Sundays? Because then where's my Sabbath? Where's my resting time? Or am I going to have to start making some other things make sense? I didn't think I had to ask those kinds of questions. Does it go from 5 to 9? That was it 5 to 11? Is it 5 to 10? Is it 5 to 12? I still got to get my 8 hours of sleep. Uncomfortable conversations with yourself, but don't let fear, is what I'm hearing you say. Don't let fear be the reason why you do not become uncomfortable, because next to that uncomfortability might be your elevation.
Absolutely.
To go from making that side hustle to that main hustle. And that's a journey in and of itself, but don't not start it because you're scared. Am I recalling what you
said? You are hearing me loud and clear. And that's exactly it. And I just want to put a disclaimer out there, because I am not one of those entrepreneurs that is telling everybody to quit their job and
me neither.
Or knocking their 9 to 5. Listen, work that 9 to 5, okay? Work it, because there's also some other struggles that come with being an entrepreneur. And so that may not be the path for everybody. So if your side hustle is just like, I know people who have side hustles and they do it because they just love it. This is their outlet. And they're not trying to make this their main hustle. They're not trying to make it their business. And I'm saying that that's okay. Know your lane. Know your lane and be comfortable with where you are. But if you want this thing to get to another level or what have you, then yeah, there's some uncomfortable things you got to do.
No, this is real. Yeah, we're going to do a series later this year at the start of next year called Don't Quit Your Job. And we're going to be talking to people about the decisions the questions you need to ask yourself and the positions you need to put yourself in to be able to make that transition from side hustle to main hustle, if that's even your aspirations. Because there's nothing wrong with loving the job that took you 8 years of education and $100,000 student loan debt. There's nothing wrong with that. And people are out here, in essence, missing the opportunity. To your point, they're missing their first investor. For a lot of us, our corporate jobs are the first investor we ever have into our side hustle. And they don't require some of the questions. They don't require the due diligence. They don't require the interesting relationships or the pitch decks. You just go clock in and clock out, and you got a little bit of change to be able to help to make it make sense in that other space and place. So thank you for qualifying your story, and thank you for providing context to your predicament so that people don't come out here and get off and say, well, I'm uncomfortable. I'm gonna quit my job and go homeless because then in 6 months I'm gonna be just like Hazel. No,
don't do it.
That's not the situation.
Don't do it. It's been 5 years, and I said earlier, I'm still at the foundation.
Come on, sister.
5 years since I quit my job. We're not even counting the years that it was a side hustle. 5 years since I quit my job, and I'm still at the foundation. Somebody else in 5 years, they could be fully taken off. And somebody else in 5 years, they could still be at that side hustle phase, right? I ain't got time to compare myself to where everybody else is at. So I'm at the found, and I'm okay right now. I know where I'm headed, but I want this foundation right so that I have something strong to stand on.
So your mentality is excellent. Appreciate your candidness and your honesty. You know, people need to be able to tap in with you. So what are some things that set your company apart? What are some things that set your practice apart? I know you said you a month or a couple months away from going to your own full-time, to your own private situation.
Not yet. So let me clarify that. I am a month away from taking my board exam. And there's still a few more hoops that I have to go through before I can be fully functioning on my own as a private practice. And so right now I am still in the works of, while studying for this board, also in the works of developing what is the mission of this company? Like what am I doing? Right. One of the things that I would say and this is just based off of client feedback, that sets me apart from therapists that they have experienced, is my ability to create a space where they feel fully embodied, where they can bring their whole embodied self, where it feels safe. I had someone come to me that was referred by a client, and they said, I heard you don't play. And I'm like, well, whoa, wait a minute. What does that mean? That sounds a little harsh. Like, what folks out here saying about me in these streets? What's going on? And what they were meaning was that it's truth and love. That I'm going to hit them with the truth, but I'm going to love them through it. The other thing I would say is how I look at how I view my client. I don't view my clients as problems. Problems are problems. So I'm not coming in looking at my clients through their diagnosis. I'm not looking at them as a problem. Problems are problems, but how I'm able to help them look at things in a larger systemic context. So whether that's culture and societal things to generational patterns. And I think a lot of therapists do that. I think it's the way in which that I bring that together in a way that it makes sense for my client, that centers them and centers their narrative, and helping them to unpack that parts of that narrative that no longer serve them anymore. And so it's how I create that space. What I am hoping is that what I'm able to do in the therapy room for clients, which has served me very well and kept me full, that when I build this consulting arm, that I'm able to bring some of that there as well. So hope that answers your question.
No, absolutely. It definitely does. And I appreciate you sharing that. And I think it's, again, your ability to know where you are in your process and where you've been, but also where you want to go, that makes you more than capable of answering this next question. And for someone like myself, for the people that are watching, that are like, yo, I know I need a therapist. You know what I mean? Over at the Side Hustle Economy Company, we believe that every entrepreneur needs a therapist, but especially when you're Black, because we have generational curses on our back. And so it makes our experience, our journey through entrepreneurship a little bit different than some folks who might not be Black and trying to make it make sense. And so for everybody who's asking this question, yo, I need a therapist, what are some things that people should keep in mind, sister? Like if there was 3 things you say that every Black side hustler watching needs to keep in mind when trying to choose a therapist, what are those 3 things?
1, alignment. Does this therapist align with what I truly am seeking? Right? Are you needing a female therapist? Are you needing a male therapist? Are you needing an African American therapist, a Latinx therapist? What is it that are they aligning, and are they aligning with your values? Right. So not only in as we talk about gender and race or what have you, but what is it that that therapist offers that creates some sort of alignment, right? I think the other piece that, and this is that comes up for me, is affordability, because it's expensive. And I understand why, being on the other side, why it costs the way that it costs, but not being afraid to ask, hey, do you have a sliding pay scale? Do you have pro bono services? And if not, can you put me with someone who does? Because this is what I'm needing and this is what I can afford. Or do you know of any resources in the community that would help offset the cost of this? Like, it's okay to ask those questions. So those would be the main 2. I think the third would be, again, you're going to have to shop around, and it's okay. So being okay, just as you are searching for a therapist, if in the first few sessions, you're not getting what you need, or you're just not, Black folks, we like to fill off of vibes, right? So if you're not getting that vibe, it's okay to tell that therapist, hey, you know what? I'm gonna have to go somewhere else. We will take our car to 50 million mechanics.
Tell somebody something.
We can get the right quote.
Tell somebody something.
But when it comes to our mental health, we stop at the first person. And if we don't like them, then we say, oh, well, I'm done with therapy. Same thing with the doctor. We get a diagnosis. We want a second and third and fourth opinion But then when it comes to our mental health, the areas of our lives that we can't tangibly see is hurting, that we can't see is bleeding, we stop at the first therapist who may have not been a good fit for us, and then we just write therapy off altogether. So shop around, ask your therapist the hard questions. What is your experience with working with Black people? What is your experience with working with minorities? What is your experience with working with people on the margins? What is your experience with working with couples, with working with families, with working with people who are adjusting from divorce? What's your experience in this area of need that I have? Ask those questions. And if a therapist can't answer, and you want a therapist who's seeing a therapist.
Oh, she's dropping gems on gems. She's dropping gems on gems.
So
we live, baby. We live, baby.
I cannot. That would be the last thing. You want a therapist who's seeing a therapist. You want a therapist who has spaces that they are also processing their own stuff. It's okay to ask, hey, do you have a therapist? Do you have a space where you're able to process? It's okay to ask those questions.
Listen, let me tell y'all something. We live. We live on YouTube. We live on Zoom. We're going to be live on Instagram soon because Hazel's dropping gems. She's dropping gems. In case y'all wasn't listening, she's dropping gems. She said, y'all spend more time, talent, and treasure investing in your car than you do your mental health. Hazel said, y'all not making it make sense. She said, if you're going to shop for a car, shop for a therapist too, because you're going to be depressed in a car. She said, you could have a brand new Rolls Royce and not be able to go to sleep at night. That's a sucky situation. Listen, that's what she said. I didn't say it. She said it. I didn't. And then she said, you know what else you said, Hazel? Then you told him, you said, think about all the stuff you tell your therapist. If they not talking to somebody, how can they bring you to a place and space of healing as well? She said, ask your therapist the critical questions. Because if you're not asking them the critical questions, how can you expect them to do the same thing for you? Y'all, Hazel's dropping gems. Hazel's dropping gems. And if you're not listening, that's a personal problem. But I know for the people who are listening, someone's sending Hazel an email this evening. She's gonna say, yo, I need you to get my life together. Her sister, you dropping gems. Thank you for this. This is incredible. Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Listen. So I got another question for you because we got you. I mean, you here.
I'm here, so let's just go.
Listen, so this thing called life, it ain't easy, and entrepreneurship makes it a lot harder. You know, I don't care how great your business plan is. I don't care how many partnerships you have. I don't care how much capital you've got sitting in your bank. You know what I'm saying? Entrepreneurship is not easy, especially not now. And especially not in some of the situations that we're in. And so my question to you is someone who has struggled through the side hustle stage and maintained the character and integrity even in your full-time space and place, but is still candid, open, and honest about the fact that it's not perfect. Can you give the people, a piece of advice, a word of encouragement? Something I say is a lesson that you learned a little bit too late, right? About entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So everybody talks about, and let me just be completely real and completely transparent, y'all, because I'm in the thick of it right now. I've been doing this full time for a little over a year. The first 4 years was all training. I'm still getting some training, but now the training is coming with actual full-time work. Okay. So you hear a lot of folks, be an entrepreneur, own your own business. And I think there's no greater investment than investing in yourself. I truly believe that. But the same folks oftentimes who are yelling, get your own business, are not telling you what all that comes with. I am the marketing person, the accounting person, the customer service, the intake specialist. I am the janitor.
List it.
Because I work from home.
List them.
I am the social media coordinator. I mean, it's all me. I'm the bookkeeper. I'm all of that right now because of where I'm at in the stage, right? I don't think people really paint that picture. It's a lot of work. And here's the thing, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I need to know these different things. It's a lot of learning with that. The other thing, especially in my field, insurances. No one prepares you for all the fees and insurances and all the things that you have to do to even be a step. Like, it's more than just getting your LLC. There's so much more.
We can shut it down right there. We can close it off right there. We can close it off right there.
In 5 minutes. I can get an LLC in 5 minutes. And it costs me under $100. Get an LLC, bam, I'm done. That doesn't necessarily make me a business owner. I'm still developing my business, y'all. And there's so much like, and I'm not just talking about fees when it comes to your business insurance and fees and stuff like that. Even as a entrepreneur, an independent contractor, medical, dental, vision insurance, it don't look the same like how it does on your 9-to-5. This stuff is expensive. If I don't work, I literally don't eat. So how to manage the money that's coming in and be able to afford yourself time off, because you don't get a PTO pay. I don't get to have sick pay. If I don't go to work that day, I bring in $0 that day. So that means I have to be very strategic with my money and how I'm paying myself so that I can sustain a vacation when I need to, or in case I get sick, where I'm not just, I got some funds in reserve for those things. So these are the things that people are not talking about. So inspirational, empowering. I don't want to just defeat somebody right now.
No, you're not. You being real though. You being real. This is what it sounds like. This is real.
I believe that it's worth it. I believe that I am worth it. I believe that I have, yes, much to learn, and I have great value with my work. My clients are getting what they are invested. They're getting the full value of their investment. I truly believe that. I check in with my clients to make sure that we're aligned, right? That they're getting what they have signed up for. The thing about this is you have to stay consistent, because there has been times where even though I have a full caseload, that don't mean that all my clients show up every week. So if I'm banking for my clients to show up every single session,
talk about it, sister, talk about it.
And they don't, and I have a week where my income is a little low, I can't get frustrated in the struggle and throw in the towel. Stay consistent. Everything you want is on the other side of consistency. You have to stay consistent. And we can't keep putting a time limit to when we think things are supposed to come to fruition. Here's the thing. TD Jakes, he always says, your passion will lead you to purpose. And I add to that, not only will passion lead you to purpose, but provisions will be provided so that your purpose can come into fruition. Your passion will lead you.
You got to run that back for the people. Break it down real slow. Break it down real slow.
Well, your passion will lead you to purpose, but you have to trust that provisions will be provided along the way so that your purpose comes into fruition. It will happen. You have to believe that it's going to happen. So even when you've been consistent for 3 months, and it feels like it's not going anywhere, you gotta stay consistent. Keep your eye on the ball, right? And so one of the things that I'm learning right now is to not count myself short before getting in the game. So there's some things that I want to do, but just like how I took that leap of faith to start this thing, I got to keep taking leaps of faith to keep this thing going. And so it's consistency. Yes, it's a struggle. Yes, it's hard, but nothing worth having comes easy. And the last thing I would say is it's great to have vision. You should plan. But as the Bible says, it's the Lord who orders the steps. Be okay with your steps being ordered. Your plan and how things look for you may not look like the next person's. What you think is someone's overnight success, it may have been 20 years in the making. You have no idea. We know this much about somebody's journey. Stay consistent. Keep your eye on the ball. Do it scared. That's all I got.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just be open. Be open to learning and growing. Mistakes will happen along the way, but the mistakes don't mean that you're a failure. You're not defined by that. Mm-hmm. See those mistakes as learning opportunities. Okay, I know not to do that. I know to now require a deposit for this next speaking engagement. I know to now make sure that the money is sent to me up front. I know to now make sure that we sign this NDA. I know to now, like, you know, so see the mistakes as learning opportunities.
Yeah. This is gems. This is gems. Look, y'all, on the other side of consistency is the success that you've been craving. On the other side of consistency is the success that you've been craving. You dropping gems. Look, and so second to last question, right? And I appreciate you so much for taking some time this evening to come and talk to our community. You know, so like I said at the beginning, y'all, you know, we care deeply about the 3 E's over at the Side Hustle Economy Company, right? Exposure, education, and equipment. Exposure, education, and equipment. You know, a lot of people don't dream by any means because they haven't seen something worth dreaming about. And so we expose y'all to folks like Hazel. But then you got to be educated. So it's one thing to see it. You got to be able to talk how to achieve it. So then we educate you through our 5 different programs. But then a lot of us, including myself, become frustrated where you've seen it, know how to achieve it, but don't have the tools and the resources that you need to be able to bring it to fruition. And so we connect with folks like Hazel or the attorneys, or like we're going to see next week, or the marketers like we saw last week with Nia, or the accountants like we saw a couple of weeks ago with Jason. We help you make that thing make sense. And so, sister, when you think about your own journey through life and entrepreneurship, which one of those 3 E's, you know, was it the exposure, was it the education, or was it the equipment that really you think had the most positive impact on you personally?
You know what? This is a hard, I thought about this question when you sent them. This one it's a hard one for me to answer, because I think at various points of the journey, all 3 have been positively impactful, and sometimes all at the same time. I would not be doing any of this had I not been equipped and trained. This started with me teaching and speaking from a faith-based perspective, but I went through a potential teacher's course at my church that led me to teaching a young adult class, that led me to teaching in the women's ministry, that led me to teaching singles, which led me to conferences and workshops and all that. But there was some equipping, and then exposure came. There was some educating, and then exposure came. And then there were other times where I just needed to focus on education. I couldn't worry about exposure. So the last for about 4 years of this full-time journey has been all about education. I wasn't trying to focus on exposure. But then exposure came. And now we're trying to get more equipment happening, right? So now I'm in the equipping phase where I'm connecting with tax preparers and other therapists who have private practices that have had skin in the game way longer than I have, or are doing things that I hope to achieve, and getting those additional tools and things like that. So I can't answer that as one solid thing. I think that all three have a positive impact. We just got to know which one to pay attention to.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. And I mean, I can appreciate that. That's why we focus on all three. And we don't believe that having one without the other two is going to lead you to where you need to go.
Right.
We need all three.
Yeah.
So no, I completely respect and understand that. So here's the last question, sister. It's called Make It Make Sense Monday. You know what I'm saying? This is episode 3 or 4. I think it's episode 3 of Make It Make Sense Monday. So you one of the first people we had on here. And again, the brand is Make It Make Sense. I talked to you about the mission of the company and why we do what we do and how we do it and who we do it for. But let's bring it home with something simple, sweet. When you hear Make It Make Sense, when you see the work that we're doing, what does that mean to you? What does Make It Make Sense mean to you?
This was another one that was hard for me to just simplify. I find myself oftentimes saying make it make sense. And so knowing that is and I see the dollar sign for the S and sense. And so I get where you're going with that. But for me, when I think about it, does it align to purpose? For things to make sense to me, it has to align to purpose. Every company has a mission. And most companies won't do anything that takes them off of mission. And when they do, they find themselves in some sort of trouble whenever they go off mission. And so for me, my purpose is my mission. So make it make sense to me. Does it align with my purpose? Do they, whoever they are, do they align with my purpose? And if not, it's a hard no. It's a hard pass. Because as things stay on mission, you'll start knowing where you need to make connections so that you can make some sense, right? So that you can get the revenue that you need. But you got to know your why. And you got to be rooted and grounded in that so that you can get to where you're wanting to go.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Something that is rang true throughout all of your commentary is just the power and purpose, right? You've connected purpose to passion. You've connected purpose to experience. You've connected purpose to mistakes turned learning experiences. You've connected purpose to the revenue. You've connected purpose to the capital. You've connected purpose to the uncomfortability, to the growth, right? And I would wholeheartedly agree with you, right? When you think about the spirit of what Make It Make Sense means to us as a company, what it means to the culture, it's like, yeah, like, why are you here? And to what extent does the thing that you're doing right now getting you to wherever it is you need to go? We may not understand where you want to go or why you want to go there or where even is that you want to go, but you do, right? And so to what extent are you trusting that gut, that intuition, that voice inside of your head, and then not just listening to it, but then acting on it? Yes. That doesn't just positively impact you, but positively impact the people around you. And I know your career and your story, speaks to that. And again, that's why I'm so thankful that you were able to come on here and share your story and provide us some practical and practicable insights to the people that are listening. Can you tell them how they might be able to connect with you and follow with you?
Yeah. So I've been slipping on the Instagram because I'm in study mode, y'all. So, but you can definitely connect with me on Instagram at @_Hazel Owens. That's probably the platform that I use the most. That's my professional page there. You can email me at Owens, OWENS @cts.edu. I have a Psychology Today profile. Just type in Hazel Owens, it'll pop up. Make sure you put Psychology Today because I ain't on the Google's top list yet. So make sure you put Hazel on Psychology Today. That'll get you there. You just put Hazel on, and you may find some old elderly white lady who may have passed on and gone on to glory. So make sure you
Lord, that SEO is
the
crucial.
SEO ain't there. Listen, I told y'all we still at the foundation. I'm learning about these SEOs, so I'm already starting to prepare myself for that. But we ain't up there just yet. So but Hazel on Psychology Today, you can find my profile there. But those are the best ways to connect with me. I will say, if you're looking for services, please email me. That's the best way for me to respond. DMs on Instagram is not the way to try to connect with me for services of any kind, please. So,
okay,
yeah.
Cool. We'll make sure we dissipate that information. Again, y'all, H. Owens at CTS.edu.
CTS.edu.
Follow her, don't DM her, and make sure you search Psychology Today on Instagram. You're going to find someone that looks nothing like the Hazel that you see today.
Yeah, so Google Psychology Today, Instagram underscore Hazel Owens. So
yeah, cool. Yep. Well, look, sister, again, definitely appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Don't make sure we stay tapped in with you. And look, thanks to everybody that tuned in and watched today. Again, this has been streaming live to YouTube the entire time, and so it'll be on the timeline once it's done. It'll go out via email once it's finished. If you haven't signed up for our email list, make sure you go to sidehustleeconomy.net and type in your email. We don't bug you, we don't spam you. Just try and provide really, really good information like the conversation that we had tonight. I told you at the beginning, I had a special announcement and I saved it for this incredible conversation with my sister. We talk about exposure, we talk about education, and we talk about equipment. Tomorrow night, we talked about LLCs earlier. Today is funny. I'm paying for 10 people to start their businesses. Or I'm paying for, sister, 10 people. I'm doing a webinar tomorrow evening from 6 to 8 p.m. in partnership with LISC Indianapolis. I'm paying for it. I'm paying you to get your business entity report. I'm paying for you to file your LLC. And for 2 hours, I'm explaining to you what an LLC is and all them things them things that be thinking. We're going to talk about them things that be thinking around that LLC because you ain't no business on this because you file it. You're going to have some fun with it too. So again, tomorrow night from 6 to 8 p.m., you ain't got to worry about a single cost, but you have to attend. So if you're interested, you got to DM us. You got to follow us on Instagram and DM us at Side Hustle Economy Company on Instagram. DM say, yo, Murdoch, I tapped into the live. I saw it once it was over. I'm trying to tap in and get my company started, and I'll make sure you get tapped in. So
how exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely fire. Definitely. Yeah, no, definitely a dope. Shout out to LISC, you know what I'm saying, for providing the opportunity for us to continue providing education. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge in and of itself is not power. It becomes powerful when it's shared. And so we're sharing a lot of information tomorrow night. But then it's not just about exposing like we did tonight or educating like we do tomorrow. We got to equip. And so we're going to eliminate that cost barrier so you can really start making it make sense and building generational wealth for you and your family. So make sure y'all send us an Instagram DM. Make sure you email Hazel and tap into our Instagram for all the more events we got this week. Y'all thebomb.com. Y'all beautiful. Y'all are bold. Y'all are black. This was the 3rd episode of Make It Make Sense Monday. Y'all have a good one. Okay, let me stop the recording real quick and the streaming.